right, we are live. All right, thanks, Steve. That was Feeding the Cats by Steve Cleveland. Going to take us into the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome to you. Thanks for checking in with us. Today we're going to talk about a personal chronology of the blues. I know that there's a lot of information out there about how the blues started and who are sort of the people along the way that really made that art form what it is. And I kind of think of it more of as like a language where it's really hard to say exactly what point, like we are now speaking French, we are now speaking German, and there's a proper way to do it. There's a proper way to speak English. That whole idea seems funny to me because it's kind of like a cloud, like a slow moving, changing thing that's ever roiling, and so to say who really created the blues is sort of it would be really difficult to pinpoint, and I don't know, not terribly interesting to me, because you have three chords and then an ornamented way of singing, and that's pretty much every genre of music in the entire world that I can think of. Every folk music is basically three chords and some great vocals. But how about let's just start out with a blues recording that I think is incredible. I originally heard it on the R. Crumb soundtrack, and to the movie Crumb. And it's a woman named Geeshie Wiley, and it's this really haunting piece. Let's play it real quick.
Wow, that's hypnotic.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, it's like you just fall into this trancey kind of thing.
I hope that made it out to you all. Uh, I'm not totally good on the on using the board, but I think that you all just heard that. Um, again, Gishi Wiley, an incredible musician, not a whole lot known about her. Um, but anyway, that's that was the first time that a Terry Zwigoff film had a big effect on me. So Terry Zwigoff directed that movie Crumb, and in that movie at one point, when they were discussing R. Crumb's blues collecting, he collected blues records, and when they were discussing that, they played that song, and I just was floored. I mean, I spent years trying to figure out what was going on with the. She does this kind of like this sort of like repeating. To me, it sounds like a leaf in the wind or something. It's like it's such a beautiful natural sound, and it's a really haunting, sad song. But then something about it just feels so lost in the country. Like it's you're just deep in the woods. It's a beautiful song.
That's gorgeous. Reminds me of I think a fairly obscure artist too, Rosalie Hill. It sounds that I get that same kind of spell, a feeling from her stuff too.
Rosalie Hill.
Rosalie Hill, I think. Not also then there's Rosie Mae Hemphill, I think, who's different and is also great, but a different style, more Piedmont blues or something.
Yeah, so hearing that song definitely was an eye opener for me as far as like, wow, blues is such a wide genre, and I think Terry Zwigoff in another film had a great moment that me and a few other friends have referenced over the years, which was the Blues Hammer moment when they had like this cool this
in the film Ghost World, right?
In the film Ghost World, yeah, where they had this cool old black dude on stage with a feather in his cap, and he's playing really awesome stuff in a 3-piece suit. And there's kind of like a lackluster, like he gets off the stage and people are like, okay, nice. And then this blonde-haired, blue-eyed surfer dude jumps on stage and like full distortion, everything turned up to 10, and their band is called Blues Hammer, and he starts singing about like working on the plantation.
And all these women get up and start dancing, and it's a big party. Everybody's just loving it.
And the whole place is just loving it. And so I remember, having that feeling before, like just seeing like, man, there's certain aspects of blues that I want nothing to do with,
and that's the Blues Hammer aspect, right?
That Blues Hammer, the kind of everything. It's hard. It's not necessarily even in the music. It's sort of an energy. Like for me, it went back to when I was a kid and I was working in a music store, and this dad came in and had this a recording that he was playing on like a little boombox or something of his son playing blues guitar, and his kid competed in these blues things where he would everybody would get up, guitarist after guitarist after guitarist playing solos over a 12-bar blues with a backing band of like local ringers, the type of thing that I've done since and actually have a lot of fun doing, because you get to encourage people and be positive about the positive parts and not be quiet about the negative parts, and then back people up, and it's a lot of fun, get to encourage people. But back then it was nothing I wanted anything to do with. I didn't want to be. I wasn't into music to be competitive, and in fact, it was like I realized like, oh, I don't like sports because I'm not competitive, and taking on music competitively never appealed to me. So that but as it went on, I remember just having like glimpses of like how cool the blues could be and how it was such a like settling, homey, comfortable kind of music for me. I had a math class with an angry math teacher in middle school that would throw erasers at people.
Dude, I had one of those guys too. He would throw erasers. He would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he'd throw fits and the whole thing. But he would occasionally play these videos, like while we were doing a math test or something. He would play a video. I remember he played a video of Jimi Hendrix playing acoustic. So it's like there's this one video they have
Oh
where
yeah, that's phenomenal.
it's such a great movie. If you can check that out, it's I don't know what it's called, but it's Jimi Hendrix playing acoustic guitar, playing like old blues and stuff, and it's just incredible. And I remember like seeing that and just kind of going like, oh, okay, so Jimi Hendrix doesn't just shred, like he's really deep with this. And then I think, let's see, as time went on, I've had about like five or six blues people that were really important to me, and then I've done research to learn about more. But another big one, I was working at the library, and I would check out CDs of various musicians, and one of them was Mississippi Fred McDowell. I remember listening to that a ton, and just really loving the laid back approach that he had.
And he played a lot of slide, right? A lot of bottleneck guitar and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And he taught Bonnie Raitt a lot of stuff too. I think they hung out.
Oh, cool. Huh.
I think he was a mentor of hers, pretty sure.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I remember just his approach to acoustic guitar was I think he was anyway, he was great, and I loved his singing style and stuff. But another big one that came up for me was Charles Mingus, who would kind of do like almost like vignettes, like dramatic blues vignettes, where he was where the whole band you heard people stomping and screaming, and it was like you felt like you were right there for he had a song called Wednesday Night Prayer Meeting. And that's exactly like what it felt like. It just seemed like you were in a raucous church, or something you'd hear in like Congress Square in the 1800s or something. It was incredible. And then of course Robert Johnson, who, I still seems like people cannot figure out how he did that. You listen close.
How did he do that?
How did he do that? Supposedly he faced a corner and you couldn't see what he was doing, and but I've listened to it before, and it sounds like there's another guy there just playing occasional like filling in little cracks and stuff, like in between some of those amazing licks, because there are notes that just seem to be impossible to play. But anyway, let's see. And then time went on. Another person that I really have focused on a lot lately was Lightning Hopkins, and I think a lot of that has to do with how good the recordings are. That he was one of the most prolific recording artists of the blues ever, and so that explains part of it. Is that there's just so much to listen to, and then and he was recording at a time, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Even though he was playing back in the 40s, he took a long break, I guess, and was working like odd jobs and stuff when he finally was rediscovered by like the folk revival, and they brought him out, and he had a second chance at a career, and he took it, did a great job. He's I some of the stuff that he does on guitar, like I find just tiring, like really difficult to do. Like it's just as simple as it gets in a lot of ways. This little pattern right here. And the amazing part about Lightning is that he never deviated from he always deviated from the 12 bar form. That he was always felt it free to play the chords where he felt like they should be. Made him follow the vocal or made him follow his guitar solo, and so he'd be going along.
Have to follow. The musicians just have to follow. He's leading, and he'll hold that chord as long as he wants, and go from there.
Yeah.
Follow the vocal, follow the leader, follow the leader.
Yeah, and then there's others who are really played strictly on that 12 bar form. Like Muddy Waters, right, was a very good about being right on the form.
Seems like the form stays consistent, but there are Muddy Waters songs where it's what you might say crooked, where it's not. You have to know it's not a standard what people now think of as a standard blues form, because there'd be two beats, like a half measure here and there, or an extra measure,
right? Like a 13 bar blues or something like that.
Yeah, like Howlin' Wolf did, of course, too, like Little Red Rooster and stuff. Or that song that I sing sometimes, Champagne and Reefer. There's that extra bar or two.
You want to do a little bit of that? And maybe you can.
Sure. Okay. Let's see.
We can just do a bit of it, and then maybe you could talk about how you discovered the blues.
Okay. I won't sing the whole thing. Give me champagne when I'm thirsty. Give me a reefer when I want to get high. So that's that little extra. Give me champagne when I'm thirsty. Give me a reefer when I want to get high. When I want some loving, I want my baby right here by my side. I messed up the form already. But anyway, you'd call it a crooked form or something. Muddy Waters did that, but it seemed like the forms were always predictable. They stayed consistent. Whereas Lightnin' Hopkins, you got to follow the vocal, follow it,
Yeah, right. He would change it up all over the place. And sometimes it made for some uncomfortable moments when he was playing with a band or something. But it was also made some amazing moments too, and they would
totally
everybody was just, hit something right together out of nowhere.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Lightnin' Hopkins is one of my favorites. When I was in my early 20s, I think I was reading liner notes of a Bob Dylan album or something, or an interview with Bob Dylan. I think it was liner notes, and he mentioned Lightnin' Hopkins, and he was a big Robert Johnson fan too. And I'm like, Lightnin' Hopkins, I'll check that out. And I was living with my parents in Texas and working at this crappy fast food job and feeling pretty much alienated from the world and having no idea what to do with my life or how to function in society. I'm serious. I was pretty alienated, and I bought this Lightnin' Hopkins record called Los Angeles Blues, and it just I found his voice and his guitar and the whole vibe was so grounding and soothing for me. It just made me feel more grounded and like this is not alienating. This makes me feel connected, you know. And that to me is what the blues does, you know. Like John Lee Hooker said, the blues is a healer, and I think that is absolutely true. Um, I I feel that you can't really listen to music without, you know, American popular music, for example, without you're hearing so much blues because the blues, in one way or another, lyrically, emotionally, form wise, it permeates American songbook stuff, jazz for sure, um, rock and roll, country western, bluegrass. To me, the blues is it permeates all of those things. You listen to talking about jazz, you listen to Charlie Parker or Ornette Coleman or Thelonious Monk or Miles Davis. You're going to hear the blues. I mean, Monk's, you know, for example, or Duke Ellington, you know, or Count Basie, but like Monk, you know, like Blue Monk. Anyway, yeah, the blues, to me, it's, I think I've been listening to it all my life because when I was a kid, the first stuff I listened to was country western, and if you listen to Hank Williams, you know, it sounds pretty much like the blues to me. But later, I got into Bessie Smith. You know, there's so many incredible blues artists. Robert Johnson, of course, and lyrically, Robert Johnson is incredible too. You know.
It's funny. Bessie Smith was a name that came up over and over again when I started getting more into it, and I checked her out, and I like Bessie Smith a lot, but there's something about the vaudeville. I'm glad that you mentioned the vaudeville aspect because there's something about that vaudeville thing in her singing that sounds sometimes, I guess, forced to me, and I think it has partially to do with the volume that she had to produce to be heard. But it just sounded like she was just screaming every line. You know what I mean? Ah! And that, you know, there's some other singers that I really liked who lay it back. Like, who's the guy who I always call the Buddha of the blues? What's it?
I'm not sure.
Or I think Ralph Carney called him the Buddha of the blues.
John Mississippi John Hurt.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
yeah. Where he's
He's laid back.
so
sounding.
laid back. It's like
I mean, I think Billie Holiday's a great blues singer. Jeez Louise.
I get the blues when it rains. I can't lose when it rains. Well, each little drop that falls on my window pane always reminds me of the tears I shed in vain. I sit and wait for the sun to shine down on me once again. Well, it rained when I met you, and it rained when I left you, and I get the blues when it rains. Yeah. Anyway, I liked his laid back approach. Mississippi John Hurt, and and Billie Holiday, I think is another singer, of course, that just.
Yeah.
I think I liked the to hear that little bit of doubt in her voice.
Yeah, Bessie Smith approached it as a kind of a little bit of a shouter, like super powerful voice, just a real, yang approach, if you will, very assertive, not yin so much. One thing about the blues I just wanted to mention, if you listen to like some like West African musicians like Ali Farka Touré from Mali, he says that's where the blues came from. I think he even specifies it. It's like right around where he grew up. But he says that's where the blues came from. It's hard to argue with that in a way. It goes back to Africa in so many ways, right? I mean that's and you can hear you hear Ali Farka Touré, and it's like people would say, well, that sounds so much like John Lee Hooker sometimes, and you'd be like, I'd never heard John Lee Hooker before. I was doing this already, So anyway, it's just fascinating to me where the source is, but that's what Ali Farka Touré says. Starts in Mali.
Yeah, some of that music is it's like really strictly on those minor blues scales,
Very minor blues, yeah.
And
That's some Ali Farka Touré tuning.
oh, is it?
Yeah. And that also, then I don't know, it starts to sound Appalachian to me. It's like, wow. And a lot of that music to me is real trancey too, and then just these repeated figures that kind of quite hypnotic.
Yeah, right on. Cool. So you came to the blues from, you listened to country, like old country from a young age, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, that's what my family was listening to a lot. I had my Uncle George. I'd ride around with him in his car, and he had an 8-track tape player, and he'd be playing, like Jim Reeves or Johnny Cash and stuff.
Cool. Beautiful. Yeah, I think I was listening to Young MC and when I was a kid.
To what?
I think one of the first tapes that I ever bought was a Young MC tape.
What's Young MC?
It's just pop music.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't pop really. It was it was rap. It was but just like,
yeah.
I was listening to whatever was around. I wasn't listening to old stuff. Kind of was like a black and white movie to me. Just like it's not in color. I'm not gonna watch that old thing.
That's funny.
Yeah, when you're a kid, Well, right on. You have anything more you wanted to talk about your?
Well, I always, when I was a teenager, I got, well, I was really into ragtime and Scott Joplin, and then I got into, classic jazz pretty soon after that. And Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, and Charlie Parker. And so the way that, to me, like the way that Thelonious Monk plays is so infused with the blues, and same with really all, Bud Powell. It's so much a part of that music. So I was hearing that, but it was only quite a bit later I started really listening to piano players that played with blues artists, such as Muddy Waters. So there'd be like Otis Spann, incredible piano player, played with Muddy Waters. Pine Top Perkins, also just fantastic. And so it's, I'm still learning, but there's just so many wonderful blues artists on record, and that you can go hear live too.
Yeah, and that stride style that Thelonious Monk played with was just, he had his own take on it, but he was clearly so good at doing that stride thing.
Yeah, I think Monk, Ellington, Basie, Art Tatum, Teddy Wilson, for example, all those folks came out of the stride tradition. Of course, there was Willie the Lion Smith, Fats Waller, of course.
Yeah. Willie the Lion Smith had he recorded a little later, right, than some of those guys, because his recordings seem to be really good. Willie the Lion Smith is an incredible.
He goes back pretty far.
Interview.
James
I
P. Johnson.
highly recommend it. If you ever see Willie the Lion Smith in an interview, like check it out. There's one of them where he's talking about younger musicians and what he does with a young talented musician if he sees one. And a lot of people are like they're encouraging, and they're like, hey, look, I always tell people keep it up and stuff. Willie the Lion Smith was the exact opposite. Like, he was like, if I come into a place and I hear a young pianist who's really smoking, like, first thing I'll do is I'll walk over to the piano, I slam the piano lid down on his hands, and I say, stop doing that.
Ouch. I was going to just talk briefly, since you mentioned stride piano. I think a lot of it comes out of like Scott Joplin and ragtime styles, but it's a style of piano which it's like, if you're a solo piano player and you're just trying to entertain at a party or something, you need to keep the groove going. You need to fill up the space, and you want people to dance. So stride piano uses a lot of left hand. So you have to kind of work on your left hand a lot, and there's I'll just demonstrate, like with Blue Monk, like we're doing. I'll do a little bit of stride kind of thing. So it fills up, rather than like later in bebop styles and stuff. You might not even, your left hand might be not doing nearly as much, and you're focusing more on like runs with your right hand and stuff. And it's different approaches. But yeah, stride was where it was very foundational for a lot of jazz and piano playing.
Yeah, it just makes so much sense on piano watching you do that. And it really dictated a lot of like how people play the thumb and finger style on guitar,
Yeah.
You got the thumb kind of moving around, doing like a low sound to a high sound, back again, yeah.
And yeah.
Or put it in the key of E.
Another thing I was thinking of, another piano-oriented subject. There was a boogie woogie craze. I think it was in like the 30s and 40s, maybe. You had like Pete Johnson, Albert Ammons, and Meade Lex Lewis, and so that I think also was a big influence on guitar playing and on rock and roll, because a lot of that, and that's also about dance and groove. So you either have something like, you'd have that, or they'd also do the, or they could be like, so there's,
awesome.
but it was, you could trace a lot of rock and roll to that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. That's what was that last one? That's great.
That's just a certain style that I learned when I was a kid.
What was that? The bass line there?
So you're going an octave,
Yeah.
and then down to the third, and then you chromatically up.
That's so cool. Yeah. I got to work on that.
It's fun. It's a really fun style to play. It's so energetic. People can dance to it, and that's the beauty of it.
You walk chromatically up to this? Yeah, we'll figure it out some other time. Well, right on, man. Well, how about we go out on a Bessie Smith song?
Yeah.
One that I like to sing. Just sing a few verses of it, and then maybe go to the blues, and then we'll just solo for a while.
I'll follow you.
Yeah, right on. Cool. Had a dream last night that I was dead. Had a dream last night that I was dead. Mean blue spirits all around my bed. Fairies and dragons spitting out blue flames. Fairies and dragons spitting out blue flames. Showing their teeth for they were glad I came. Demons with their eyelash dripping blood.
Demons with their eyelash dripping blood.
Carrying sinners through that brimstone flood. Mean blue spirits stuck their forks in me. Actually, mean blue spirits stuck their forks in me. Made me moan and groan in misery. Here we go. This is how I cried with all my mind. This is how I cried with all my mind. Oh, my soul, I cannot bear the sight. Started running, 'cause it is my cause. Started running, 'cause it is my cause. Keep on going, someone catch me up.
was fun.
everybody.
That was really fun.
It was a good one.
Should we do? Should we take us out?
Oh, sure.
A little outro.
Yeah, let's go for it.